speaker today is Sonjia Armitage, a youth in our congregation, and since she's sharing her story with us, I will let her finish introducing herself. Sonjia.
Hello, my name's Sonjia Armitage. I'm a senior at Falmouth Public High School, and I wanted to share my story today about bullying and homophobia I faced within the public school system. And I didn't make any notes or make any script for this because I just kind of wanted it to be original and more candid for this. So where should I start? Well, I think when I was a kid, I think I always thought that there was something different about me. I think I was a very anxious kid. I really wanted not just my family, but all of my friends to like me, but more so in a way that I fit the perfect mold for them. And as a kid, like when I was a little girl, I definitely loved the things that, like, I loved the color pink, I loved playing with dolls and all that stuff. My parents can tell you how much I loved porcelain dolls and teacups and all that stuff, and I definitely did, but as I got older, I started to feel like sometimes when I would try and play that up a little bit more, it was like, it felt inauthentic, it felt like I was trying to pull on something that wasn't really there. When I was younger, I would try to imagine what my life in the future would be like, and I always thought, oh, there's going to be this prince that's going to come and save me or something like that. And I would try and tell myself that all the time, that that's what's going to happen. It doesn't matter if the boys that you see in school, you never really looked at them in any sort of the way that the other girls did. You know, it's going to happen when you're older, it's something like that. And as I started to get older, when I went into my 6th grade year, a lot of things started to change. My anxiety as a kid, I always had it. I always thought like when I was like a younger kid, I always had these weird thoughts that when I look back, like, it wasn't very healthy to have a little kid have those type of thoughts. Like, you know, what if everybody is just faking liking me and whenever I'm around them or something like that? But going into my 6th grade year, I started noticing that I would get so panicked whenever I didn't feel like I was fitting how I should, like, I would panic when I felt like, you're supposed to be happy right now. And I would panic and I would think, I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I'm going insane or something like that, or this isn't right. And it got so much worse. And I started getting really bad, intrusive thoughts. And that's just mainly how it transpired. And that was it was a dark time for me. I was anxious all the time. But when I came out of it, I felt like, it almost felt like I was this piece of coal that, I felt like myself as a piece of coal that, and then over time, God had put me through all of these pressures and hardships, and I came out the end just a little bit closer to becoming a diamond, to becoming what God truly wanted me to be, wanted to be a pure, authentic self. And I would say the start of spring, my 6th grade year, is when I started to realize I was gay. I was friends with I started getting new friends, and I started hanging out with them a lot more. I didn't like going to recess as much. That was the last year I got recess, 6th grade. And I would hang out with what was called Team, at lunch, it's like a gifted kids program. I wasn't really gifted. I always had a really hard time reading, but that's off that's off subject. But I would hang out with them because all of my friends were there, and I met this girl. She had this bright red hair. I won't say her name because I shouldn't say that, but and she had these bright blue eyes, and I fell so deeply in love with her for a 6th grader. When you're a kid, you feel certain feelings to such extremes, and I definitely felt that when I was younger. I felt like, I don't know how to describe it, but I did end up getting the courage to ask her, do you want to be my girlfriend? And she said yes, because she was also gay. And I remember that day I was so happy, I couldn't stop grinning, and this girl who sat across from me in math class asked me, why are you smiling so much? And I said, oh, it's nothing. I also had this friend, her name was Annika, and I'm sorry, I shouldn't say real names, I'm sorry about that, but I'm not saying the last name, so it doesn't matter. But she asked me one day, I think it was after a field trip, she asked me, so who do you have a crush on? And I said, oh, it's nobody, and she kept asking me, she kept pestering me. She said, and she asked, like, what boy is it? And I said, it's not a boy. And I didn't realize that I said that, and she asked me, are you a lesbian? And I turned bright red because I didn't know what to do. And that's when, and she took my unresponse as a response to her. And the next day I walked into school, it was like, I heard whispering, it was like everybody was looking at me. I didn't know what to do because at the same time she also found out that day that my other friends, Ethan and Elle, were also gay. And they were, thankfully, there was people there with me that understood what I was going through. And I love those friends to this day. But it was terrifying. It was like this entire image that I thought I had made for my classmates just shattered, and I didn't know what to do. And slowly what started to happen was, it wasn't just boys, but it was mostly boys. They would come up to me and they would ask me really inappropriate questions. They would ask, how does it work being a lesbian? I don't get it. How does that work? You said you're gay. Doesn't that mean you like men? Something stupid like that, like 6th grade boys do. But it was more than that. They would ask me, so how do you have sex? How people would make obscene gestures to me from across the room. They said, they would ask me, hey, can I join sometime or something like that? When I couldn't even hold a girl's hand, I was too scared of that. And a lot of the time, I think this is a similar experience to a lot of other queer people, but since the beginning of history, I think, and queer people have always been told that we're wrong or something like that, or something along the lines that we sexualize children or something obscene like that, and it still happens to this day. It's happening throughout this country, but what I felt was the exact opposite. I was a child and in 6th grade, and I was being treated like a porn category, and I knew teachers saw this because my class would be interrupted by boys across the room asking me obscene and offensive questions just to embarrass me. They really didn't want an answer, they just wanted to make fun of me. And teachers didn't really do anything. Thankfully, got away from those people. I don't, the girl Annika that originally asked me about that stuff, I got moved away from her. I wasn't in her classes anymore. But at the time, I didn't even realize what that was bullying. I just thought, oh, this is the experience I have to go through. This is just how it is, and I think it's kind of sad that I thought that when I was younger. And I'm in a very good place right now. I have a very supportive family. I love my family and I love my friends. But it's an experience that sadly has made me who I am, but it's made me a very resilient person. It's also made me a little bit more witty when people ask me offensive questions. But I have to admit, I'm still afraid from time to time. I see everything that's happening and like the things being told about queer people, and it's very scary, and sometimes it reminds me of what I went through. And yeah, that's all I have to say. I'm very happy with who I am, but sometimes I have to look back on that part of me, and sadly I have to look at it as a part of who I am, because it was somebody who because it was an experience that made me more resilient. But it's a sad thing as well that queer people in America have to experience something like that I had to go through. Okay, thank you.